Gauteng MEC for Finance and Economic Development, Lebogang Maile, has hailed Gauteng's competitive edge in the field of tourism. He was addressing the media earlier this morning in Johannesburg. Let's go now to Puseletso Mokoena, who was at that press conference for us. Puseletso, good morning to you. Thanks indeed for joining us. We didn't get the gist much of what the MEC had touched on, but towards the end of it, he did speak about the importance of the tourism in the province and exactly what it means for the economy of this area. Talk to us a bit about more of what he said.
Yes, indeed, Griselda. We're coming to you live from the FNB Stadium in Nasrec, whereby, as we have introduced, that the MEC, the Gauteng MEC for Finance and Economic Development, Lebogang Maile, briefed the media on Gauteng's latest tourism figures, and we heard him mentioning some big figures in his speech. But he's not here with me right now. But with me, I have the Gauteng Tourism Authority CEO, Sthembiso Dlamini, just to touch base on some of the things that were discussed in this media briefing. Griselda, CEO, thank you so much for your time. Well, we heard that the MEC mentioning some of the big figures in terms of plans. To some plans and initiatives to build a competitive and strong tourism economy in Gauteng. Can we please speak about those figures?
So some of the figures that the MEC mentioned is that in our 2024-2025 financial year, Gauteng tourism sector drove about 41 billion in foreign direct spend, so meaning from international travelers or tourists that are coming into our country. The money that has been spent in the destination is 41 billion. But he also mentioned the contribution of domestic tourism in from a revenue point of view. So domestic tourism contributed about 21 billion. So combined, we're sitting at around 63 billion contribution to the economy from tourism receipts. Those are very important. But another number that I want to mention this morning, which was part of the MEC's speech, is that if you look at that revenue, around 1.9 billion of that revenue comes directly as a result of Gauteng province hosting some of the signature events, which gives you a sense the importance of of a very vibrant event strategy and execution by the Gauteng provincial government. It's something that we want to take into the future, looking at various subcomponents of the creative industry. It can be around sporting events that we want to host, given that we've got the infrastructure for that. Music, festivals and concerts, which Gauteng as a destination is known for. I mean, this weekend was pumping with those multiple, international, artists performing in our destination. Other area covers MICE, what we call MICE. It's basically meetings, incentives, conventions, and exhibitions that are business related. We want to drive the hosting of those in our destination. So that's what largely the MEC was covering. But going into the future, in the next 5 years, we're looking at that number growing. We're looking at injecting about 180 billion into the economy. And at the heart of it as well is our focus on transformation and growing small businesses, where we've put a target of at least driving up to 200 million directly into small businesses, so that they become part of the value chain that supports tourism, and they benefit financially and economically from these activities.
And in terms of the support of tourism, CEO, we hear that the issue of crime being mentioned as the big issue in Gauteng, of which it really is. Do you think crime affects the attraction of tourists to come in this province?
Definitely. I mean, the issues of crime and cleanliness, it's at the top of the agenda of anyone who wants to visit any destination. So fortunately, the MEC was outlining some of the critical initiatives that the provincial government has really executed in recent times. For example, he mentioned the issue of helicopters to help combat crime, And he did mention that there are success stories around how these helicopters have really assisted in combating crime. He also mentioned that if you look at the traffic officials in the province, I think they're sitting at around 11,000 of those to try and beef up security personnel around traffic management and ensuring that there's adequate flow of traffic into our destination. We also have in excess of about 6,000 safety wardens that have been trained by community safety, that are part of that just joint collaboration in ensuring that there is enough officials on the ground, or boots on the ground, to fight lawlessness. In his speech or answers to the questions, some of the questions asked, he mentioned that the province, there are cameras that have been put in very strategic areas. And from the tourism point of view, we work very closely with the National Department of Tourism, where they've deployed tourism monitors in very key strategic areas which are considered hotspots, tourism, hotspots. But the fortunate part of it is the provincial government is not rolling out these safety measures, just not, for tourism and investment only, but it's to ensure that citizens of Gauteng feel safe, so that they can in turn protect the assets that are, in the province, that would in turn drive economic growth, but most importantly, the jobs, especially for young people.
And CEO, lastly, you are speaking of cleanliness being an issue as well. And we know that there is an upcoming G20 Leaders Summit in November. What are some of the measures as the authority have you guys put in, or you are still planning to put in, to ensure that we are up and ready to host?
Fortunately, we all know that there's what we call the presidential intervention task team to look at our readiness to host G20. On the provincial presidential intervention committees, you've got various work streams that have been put, issues around urban management, which looks at how do we ensure that some of the things that you have mentioned, the cleanliness is taken care of. But also we've partnered with the likes of Josie My Josie to ensure that there are initiatives around inner city rejuvenation. We partner with them. So we've started now a campaign around encouraging city walks, so that even those that live in the cities can begin to see that change, and people begin to appreciate the history, the heritage and the culture of the inner city of Johannesburg. We look forward, working with Josie My Josie to roll out, and other stakeholders to roll out some of these, activities. From a tourism point of view, we did share, with the organizers all the itineraries. We've put together itineraries of what to do, in Gauteng, covering the likes of your Cradle of Humankind, covering some of the World Heritage sites that we have that have been declared as, part of the Mandela Legacy Site, the Union Buildings, Constitution Hill, you've got Lily's Leaf, Kliptown, you've got Sharpeville Memorial. And we also have started working with various municipalities to look at how do we then find ways to build legacy of G20 by ensuring that our destination is known. I mean, we have got to leverage the fact that you would have heads of states here, but most importantly, you would have global media. So the spotlight will be in Gauteng during that period. So we're leveraging that to showcase, our destination. Hopefully, some of the delegates will be able to come back as leisure travelers, and they'll be able to visit and consume some of the products that we have.
CEO, thank you so much for speaking to us. Well, Griselda, that was the GTA CEO, essentially saying that they are ready. They have partnered with a lot of stakeholders to ensure that the province is rejuvenated and ready to host the G20 summit in November. We heard her speaking that they have partnered with Josie My Josie to ensure that cleanliness is going on in the province, to ensure that they are up and ready to host the G20 in November.